let's get right to a very special guest. He's Chris Hayes, host of MSNBC's Up with Chris Hayes, and author of a wonderful new book, Twilight of the Elites, an examination not just of the ruling class, but an often unfavourable look at the mechanisms of American meritocracy. Good afternoon to you, sir.
It's wonderful to be here, Martin.
You heard Glenn Beck, be afraid. Very afraid. What's he talking about?
I don't know what Glenn Beck is talking about.
Now, let's move on. That's a good answer. Reading your book, I can't help thinking about Mitt Romney and the way he's defined his success and the way it presents itself. Now, we've followed Vanity Fair article, which has a marvellous art, and then the Associated Press, that have looked at the Bermuda Triangle, the Cayman Islands, the Swiss bank accounts. Just explain to me how that is an American success story. Offshore banking, secret accounts, hiding funds for 15 years. How's that an example of American success?
That's a great question. It is an example of American success in this way. In the current ethos of success we have, which basically says you do what it takes to get to the top, and then you are rewarded with outsized payments, massive amounts of wealth, and a disparity between the top 1% and the 99% that we haven't seen in about 100 years. And anything you do within the narrow confines of the letter of the law is okay, right? That there are no normative moral expectations of how you conduct yourself. I think this is really key. When we look at the kind of rot that happened in Wall Street and the lead up to the boom, a lot of the stuff that was happening was illegal, but a lot of it was legal, it just was wrong. And this distinction between what's legal and what's right is a very important one, and it's one conservatives particularly used to uphold. It's a very conservative idea that there are certain kind of standards one should comport.
You're talking about probity, integrity.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, here's Mitt Romney talking about his taxes during a January GOP debate. Take a listen to this.
The most extensive disclosure that I made was the financial disclosure requirements under the law. I pay all the taxes that are legally required and not a dollar more.
His definition of success seems to be you never break the letter of the law, but you also never honor it either.
Well, I mean, look, you honor it insofar as you comply with it, which, again...
That's what we're saying. He's never done anything illegal. No one's implying that.
Right.
But do you get the impression that this is a man who follows it to the letter but not its spirit?
Yes, I mean, that's the whole reason that offshore accounts exist, and all kinds of strange tax products exist precisely for that reason. And I think it gets to this question of, and we're going to have we're going to talk about this on my show this weekend. And
how dare you promote your own broadcast on mine? But continue, I forgive you.
and what's really interesting to me is that idea. As stating a norm. I pay every dollar owed and not a dollar more. What does that owed mean? What do you do to lower your tax burden, right? And what kind of feeling do we have as a people, as citizens, watching a campaign and evaluating all sorts of things about candidates, their love lives and the way they've conducted their business affairs, etc. What is our collective expectation of how people comport themselves in that situation? And I think it would be great if we had a conversation about that.
But in Mitt Romney's world, of course, he pays 15% in tax on all of his investments.
Yep. Which is most of his income.
Right. But a manager at McDonald's pays double that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's the way the tax code works.
And that's fine.
Yes, well, look, we not only do we have this in the individual context of how people of tremendous wealth are able to game the system, again, legally, we have it in the policy context. I mean, we have the lowest top marginal rates we've had since 1993, right, when they were raised under Clinton. As a percentage of GDP, tax revenue as a whole is the lowest it's been since the 1950s, and corporate taxes as a percentage of revenue as a whole are down. Yeah, they're down around 8%. They were around 40% in 1944. So what we have seen is everything: the inheritance tax, the taxes on the top incomes, the taxes on carried interest, everything that hits people at the top have been reduced from a policy standpoint. That's the first layer. Then above that has been erected an entire industry of tax evasion, which uses all kinds of expertise and very high dollar figure accountants and lawyers to create vehicles expressly created for the intent of reducing tax burden. And that's atop the policy structure.
Fantastic. And that results in massive deficits that he says he would resolve, Mitt Romney, by investing in the military, cutting taxes. Right. I mean, explain that to me.
It is a test. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Thank you.
I mean, the deficit exists because there's two parts of the ledger, and if you just say you're going to solve the deficit while ripping off one part of the ledger and setting it aside, you're not serious.
Right.
Just full stop. It is a test of a functioning state. whether it can collect taxes. This is actually a basic developmental test that you ask of states, right? When people are on the development index,
Absolutely.
Can you collect taxes? Look at Greece. Tax evasion was absolutely endemic there. Yes. We saw what happened,
yes.
right? This is a test for America. Can we collect taxes from people at the top of the social pyramid and the top of the income distribution, the ones that are legally due, and can we change policy to make the tax code more fair? These are vital questions about the future of what the American government can do.
And Mitt Romney has said nothing about any of those issues.
He has spoken through his actions on what side he's on.
Chris Hayes, the host of Up with Chris Hayes, Saturday and Sunday mornings. Thank you, sir, and thank you for promoting your show.